A spectacular performance. Curry from half court. Sometimes, something looks like it's been there a while.
We are here, the 3 Points Podcast, Thomas, Wesley, and myself. After about a week and a half of NBA basketball, we did miss the weekend. Why did we miss it? Because Wes had some exams and projects, and it's Tuesday now, but here we are. The games that happened over the last week were the Warriors and the Mavericks on the 12th, the Warriors and the Grizzlies on the 15th, and then the Warriors and the Clippers, which was last night on the 18th. We came out of it 2-1, the second seed in the NBA Western Conference, 10-3 for the season. Um, let's just dive right in. Don't no time to waste. Let's start in chronological order. The Warriors and the Clippers. How did we feel about that game? Sorry, the Warriors and the Clippers. Let's start in chronological order, the opposite way. Let's start with the Warriors and the Mavericks. How do we feel about that, gentleman? Klay Thompson's return, dude. Okay. I gotta say something real quick. The whole Captain Klay thing has got to be the corniest thing I've ever seen in my life. When did that become a thing for
You mean
Klay?
he's the captain?
He
He's
never
the
do that?
captain.
He has
Okay,
his
And
bro.
vote. He
he
has
literally
his
has a
vote.
boating
I
license.
know he
Yeah, he
has
has
a
like a boating
vote. I know he has a
license.
vote, but when did he
He
become
like sailed. He
Captain
sailed it
Klay?
across the bay.
Dog, I understand. I know that he's a vote. I remember the whole clip with him and Wiseman. Should have pushed Wiseman into the ocean. He had the vote, but I'm saying something else. When did his nickname become Captain Clay? That was like his whole. That was the whole selling point for the whole match. Captain Clay's return. Like we've been calling him Captain Clay since he got drafted.
Bro, I've been
No, it's
calling him
like
Captain Clay
it's
since
more
2014. What do you
recently.
mean?
Really?
Stop
Okay.
lying. He's much
Yeah, I've
more
been calling him.
recent.
What do you mean? I've been calling him
2014.
Captain Clay since 2014.
I mean, I just found it so corny. Like, why couldn't we just call him, the Splash Brother Clay or something? Something that's like he's more well known for. Captain Clay, and they had the whole corny theme of everyone wearing the boat hats and stuff. Like, sorry,
I mean,
I
I thought
captain's
it
thought
was
it
kind
was
of
hats.
cool.
corny. I thought it was
I thought
corny
it
as
was kind of
hell.
cool. Yeah, well, teach their own.
I thought it was cool.
To
Yeah,
each their own.
yeah.
Regardless, anyways,
Thank you,
how do
Wes.
we feel about the? I mean, okay, I also had to say, it gave me really like white family vibes, like a real white family going to Captain Clay's return. So shocking that both of you guys love it. All right, more on the basketball analytical side. How did we feel about this game? Passing the rock to over Wesley's head to
Oh,
Thomas.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess to start off, like Clay showed out in his return. It was cool to see. He was definitely. I mean, we all know Clay. He was playing like Clay. He was trying his hardest to get hot at some points, and he was like having mixed success. There were a couple really ugly possessions where he was like, he had like a spin move and got packed or like dribbled off his foot. But he had an all right game, all things considered. So that was nice to see. Other than that, like that was what I liked about that game was that it demonstrated that the Warriors can come back because they had a little bit of a rough first half. And even well into the third quarter, they were struggling. And this is a team that's generally like, or at least this season, we've just blown teams out and then kept big leads. But this is a little bit of a different game script. And so we showed some fight. Um, and then also, I mean, cannot cannot not mention Steph's 37, like classic vintage Steph game. I think was that the game he hit the night night, or was that the against? Is that the next game?
That was that game.
It was that game. Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, he had a classic night night. I mean, he's always been a menace when it comes to hitting those daggers. So it was another vintage Steph moment. But yeah, I mean, it was just fun to see Steph and Clay dueling on opposite teams. A little bit bittersweet, but Steph came out on top, so that's all we care about.
Wesley, how about yourself?
yeah, I think it was a pretty good kind of display of the team depth. I mean, obviously, like there's the narrative of like Steph versus Clay now being on opposite ends. That was a cool first possession, like or Steph fouled Clay on the first possession, I think, and then he like stripped him a possession later or something like that, or later in the game he stripped him. So that was kind of cool to see. But I think Wiggins did a pretty good job on that like classic like 2022 run when he locked up Luca. That matchup still like works pretty well, which is why I think he's part of our like if there is like a championship season this year, he kind of has to be a part of it because he still has that like upside of being like that defender. We haven't really seen the offensive Wiggins we saw that year, but like defensively, he's still doing like his thing. And even like in the recent game against the Clippers, he looked pretty good. So he's still doing his thing against even the best offensive players in the league. I think that's my main takeaway.
For me, I'm just gonna repeat what both you guys said because that's what it screamed to me. Depth. Our overall squad play was beautiful. Like our 12-man roster is just working so well. We had five players in the double digits. We had Kaminga with 16, Hield with 14, Melton with also 14, Steph with the vintage 37, Dre with 11. We had eight players with 5+ points. Looney had five, Trace Jackson Davis and Wiggins had eight.
EJ
Wiggins,
works also.
TJ also works, but TJD, that's kind of what we know him on this channel. Wiggins
Absolutely.
obviously struggled a little bit offensively, but his defensive presence, locking up Luka, like Wes said, beautiful. All around the board, we were really just above average in rebounds, assists, steals, block, 50 rebounds, 29 assists, 13 steals, 7 blocks, and we kind of maintained the turnovers, 12 turnovers. Uh, Nothing more to it. Is just great overall squad play. The huge block by Draymond. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's absolutely correct. You're talking about Victor, you're talking about Chet. Don't forget about Draymond Green. Don't forget about him because he is right now DPOY
He's the
candidate for
favorite
sure. He's a favorite.
with Chet hurt because Chet's going to be out for like damn near the whole
Yeah,
season.
that's gonna
He's probably
disqualify
going to
him
come back right
probably.
about when the playoffs. So yeah, it's
I
probably
want
going to be between Dre and Wimby. So I'm going to be rooting for Dre, of course.
I want
We
people
all
to
are.
say Draymond's name. Draymond's name. He's been amazing. But to kind of step
Draymond.
back a little bit from the positives, um, we were 59.3% from the free throw. That's awful. That's so bad. It's literally like 18% beneath the league average. League average right now is 77.7%. And we are currently the 29th in free throw percentage for the league. We're the second worst free throw shooting team in the league. That's not acceptable. You got to be average. Yeah, understandable. You cannot be top five in everything. You know, we've been doing great bench. We have the most bench points. We have, in rebounds, points, we're doing great. You cannot be the second worst free throw percentage team in the league. You are wasting points. There are free points that you're essentially losing, and we're forcing ourselves to either get ourselves back into the game, or we're allowing the other team to kind of get back into the game, or we're just going to lose the game. So, it's been really, really bad. That's the only major drawback in that. Other than that, I think we really kind of hit the nail on the head for everything. Steph hit that crazy, beautiful game winner dagger, talking to the camera. So there's been like different talks about what he said,
Oh
but
yeah.
I think what he said was, "Yeah, stay here, or something like that, or like we here, or something like that." I think he was essentially trying to take a shot at Clay for leaving. Like I'm assuming. So I
think it
do
was
you
like in the
guys think?
moment more. I don't know
Yeah,
if it was a shot. I think it was more just like in the moment, like that's right, like you left, but guess what? We
Yeah.
whooped
Yeah.
you, so that's
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
that.
I mean like a shot in a playful manner. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, fair,
Yeah, not shot like he's pissed at
Because
Clay.
because I've seen, I mean, there's always going to be the media, right? But I've seen people, try to read too much into it. It's like, it's not that. I don't think it was that deep.
0%, 0%. It wasn't that deep at all.
Oh,
They
also,
all showed
by the way,
love.
did you guys see Luka's vintage game winner attempt?
Classic. Dude, I don't know why they
Zero
went to him.
rim, no
Kyrie
rim.
was the one kind of
Classic
cooked it.
Luka game winner. 35 feet, step back three, worst shot you could possibly imagine in the situation. Not even close. It's just classic
Yeah.
Luka. But
I would
I
like to
really
remind
wish
you,
they should have gone to Kyrie.
I'm done hating. I know I made a pledge. I'm done hating now. He made the
good.
finals. I respect him.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say, like you had promised that if he makes it to the finals, you're gonna stop hating. So I appreciate that. Moving on from that, it was a great dub. We then on the 15th went to Memphis. Where is that on the map geographically? We're gonna bring this back. So we were in Dallas,
East.
Texas.
Far
We
East.
went
East.
east. Wait, east of
Northeast
Dallas?
also.
Yeah, even east of
Northeast of
Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah.
So we went
Northeast of Dallas.
northeast. We went northeast of Dallas to play the injured Grizzlies. They're missing their main man, John Morant. But all things considered, they're doing pretty damn well for themselves. They're 8 for 6, 7 seed. They're sixth in offensive rating and fifth in defensive rating. So not too bad overall. How do we feel
They're
about
another
this,
very
gentlemen?
deep team.
They are very deep
So
as well. So,
yeah.
how are we feeling about this? Fake pass to Thomas over the head of the opponent to Wes.
I mean, I guess I'll start off with one second. Let me check the box score. I don't remember this game that well. I'm gonna
All
pass
right,
it to
then
Thomas real quick.
yeah, let's pass it to
Yeah,
Thomas real quick.
The
I
one
mean,
time
this is a.
I wasn't ready. You didn't pass it to me. Or you passed it to me.
I mean, this was
Uh,
a. I mean, Wes, I understand why you don't remember this game because it was pretty damn boring. I mean, it was just a complete blowout. This is like probably one of the best games all things considered the Warriors have played all year. It was completely non-competitive by the fourth quarter. It was just like the essence of what the 2024 Golden State Warriors have been so far. Like okay, let me read out this box score. You have Steph with 13, Draymond with 13, Wiggins with 13, TJD with 9, Lindy Waters with 8, Hield with 18, Paz 11, Kyle Anderson 8, Kuminga 8, Moody 14, Looney 6. Like it was just an assault on the Grizzlies. Every single player on the Warriors was contributing. Every single player was doing their thing. Like it's like the ideal, of what the Warriors can be this season. Obviously, it came against an injured Grizzlies team that's kind of the definition of mid, and they're missing their best player and all that. But it was a beautiful game as a Warriors fan.
Yeah, I could take it from here, so I could give you some more time, Wes, if you need to kind of recollect the game. Um, Very comfortable win against the Grizzlies. First quarter was kind of in it, but then the second, third quarter we kind of got a lead. Fourth quarter they made a little bit of run, but we kind of had enough of a lead at that point. Um, I would like to say it was a really silent 32-point game by Jaren Jackson. I did not expect that. When I was like kind of rewatching the highlights and looking at the box scores and stuff, I was like, damn. I like watching the game live, I did not feel that presence whatsoever. Um, I don't know why. I just didn't feel that presence. Steph took a kind of a night off. He laid back. He kind of carried us against the Mavs. This game, only 13 points, but those hands were flying, 4 steals. So you love to see it. Drake, I remember also like thinking like, damn, he's here to shoot threes now. Like it's actually beautiful. He had drained 3 threes on good efficiency. He's 45.7% for the season right now. That is elite. That's elite efficiency from the three. That is crazy. That is crazy, man. Like
Not just for him, just like in general. That's
just in
really good.
general. Oh yeah. Don't get for the fans at home. Don't get it twisted. I'm not talking about for Draymond Green. I'm talking about for the damn National Basketball Association. That is really good 3-point percentage. Um, and at a decent volume too. Like I said, he hit 3 threes. So mad respect to him for putting in that effort, for clearly working on his craft. These guys are hungry. They want to chip. Another guy I want to give a shout out to, which they talked about, the commentators were talking about, Kevon Looney dropped 15 pounds. They were talking about how, he dropped gluten and some other things for his health. He's been intermittent fasting. He's just fitter. He's healthier. That's the type of stuff that allows you to kind of give your best shot at a ring.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, little fun fact: Draymond Green top 20 in 3-point percentage so far this season, and it's on. I don't have it in front of me, but I would guess like 1.5 attempts per game, or maybe even close to 2, because he's been taking even more this season. So
It feels legit.
he's reworked that jumper. Yeah, it's real. He's a real threat.
100%. Defenses cannot leave him open anymore. They have to put some respect on him. I would also like to give a shout out to Lindy Waters. I really like him.
Was
He's
this the
slowly
game
becoming
that
one of my
he
favorite.
was this the game he hyperextended his knee? Or was that Dallas?
That was this game, I believe. You're right. He went for the block, I think. Was that against the
Yeah, it was like
Mavs?
it was a defensive. I remember it was like a defensive
It was a
in
block. I just
transition.
don't.
Yeah.
I think it was this game, right? Yeah, because then he was questionable for the Clippers, and then he
Yeah,
ended up coming back for the Clippers. So it was this game. He went over.
like a
I
warrior.
love his energy. I love his overall play. He's just a good ball player. He's a good role player. He's good defensively. Yeah, he'll get clipped occasionally, but like you saw in that defensive possession, he went up for the block. He got the block, and then he kind of landed awkwardly. 8 points, 11 minutes. I really want Kerr to give him more minutes. Honestly, I'm gonna say a statement out here. I wonder how you guys feel about it. When DeAnthony Melton gets healthy and he comes back. By the way, DeAnthony Melton did not play against the Grizzlies, and neither did he against the Clippers. So there's some more
He's
time
gonna be out
available.
for a lot longer than just those 2 games. I think it's probably like we're talking months, unfortunately,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Melton?
yeah.
for what it's worth.
Months, really? I thought it was like 5 weeks.
But 5 weeks is over a month. But I don't know. I've seen some pessimistic outlooks by I don't know. It's like Twitter doctors. Maybe I'll trust the team's timeline, but I don't know. I've seen some people who are pretty pessimistic about it.
Which is a severe blow, to be honest. It's an underrated thing that happened, and it's actually a huge blow because he's a great. I wouldn't even label him as a 3 and D guy because he also has a little bit of a mid range. He has a little bit of playmaking ability as well. So he's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
and maybe a little bit is an understatement. I don't have the stats to back it up, but just from my
I mean,
vision test, he has playmaking ability.
he really does. I mean, he's really a very, very, very good player. He kind of does everything well. I mean, he's a great ball handler. He's a great defender. He's a great shooter, and he's a willing passer and a decent passer too. And there's like a reason why like he's really popular amongst like the nerd like advanced stats community because he has like a ridiculous box plus minus and all those advanced stats. Like he's constantly in like 90th percentile, but um the problem and the reason why he's not valued so highly amongst the actual like the league, in front offices is that he's just so injury prone that it's like he's one of those guys where you just feel lucky to get, have it's like Gary Payton, like you feel lucky to get, 40 games out of him a season. And it's such a pattern at this point, like you kind of have to assume it's going to stay that way for the rest of his career. But I think I think with him, like the thing the Warriors need to do is prioritize keeping him healthy for the playoffs. So if that means his recovery is delayed a little bit, or maybe he sits out some games late in the season, I don't mind it at all because he's the kind of guy where you never know when he's going to go down. Like when he's out there on the court, you got to worry about him staying out there. So yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree. I think clearly these boys are able to kind of thug it through in the standings to make it to the playoffs. Obviously, we're the second seed right now. Yeah, I could maybe realistically see us drop one or two, but I have confidence in this team to be a top 4, 5 seed now. I would even say top four for sure. So it does
absolutely. Yeah, I
suck
mean
that
that's
he's.
the yeah.
It does suck that we're gonna lose Melton for a while. Great piece, but we need him for the playoffs. Get well soon, recover, stay locked in. My question for you guys. Well, now it changes a little bit because I didn't know he was out for months. But when Melton comes back, I think personally we should give more time to Waters, and instead of giving more time back to Kuminga. How do you guys feel
Kaminga?
about that? Yeah.
I thought this was related to DeAnthony Melton.
Yeah.
So like when
You
so
kind
when
you, you kind of lost me with that little like switch. Like
no no no
okay,
what I
well
mean
when
is
Melton
like
comes back, let's think
What
about
about
Jonathan Kuminga.
what I mean is that like see obviously Melton's minutes have been distributed predominantly to Lindy Waters, right? But because when Melton was here, Waters' minutes were drastically reduced. So my point, maybe I phrased it wrong, is that when obviously Melton comes
Okay,
back,
fair. I
that
got
means
yeah.
that Waters' minutes will be decreased. But what I'm saying is I would rather see Kaminga's minutes decrease.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess all what I'll say is this: the reason why they're giving Waters minutes or they're replacing Melton's minutes with Waters is because they're both shooters. Um, and so Kuminga's not. So they kind of, I think the coaching staff probably sees them as fulfilling different roles.
Mm,
Now, it's 2024 in the NBA. You always want more shooters out there. Like I understand that, and I get why. Like Kuminga has not been playing that well over the first. It's only the first month, but he's looked worse than he has probably at any point over the last season and a half. You're going back to like 2021 Kuminga with the way that he's been playing so far, and part of it's probably just reduced minutes. He's not touching the ball as much. He's not in a rhythm, all that. But like I understand why somebody who's watched him play might be a little bit down on him. But I would disagree generally. I still think his upside as a slasher and his upside in transition and the energy and athleticism that he brings just makes him a more appealing option than Waters still because Waters really, if you watch him play, like yes, he's made a couple defensive plays. Like yes, he can handle the ball, but he's really just a shooter. Like I don't think I've seen him once like attack a closeout and hit like a cutter or attack a closeout and hit a guy who's spotted up for three. I don't. Maybe I've seen him hit like one or two middies. Maybe I've seen him drive to the hoop once or twice, but he's really a pretty one-dimensional player versus Kuminga, who even at his worst, and he's been at his worst, um, I've seen him affect a lot. Like I've seen him do more. Like he can actually make stuff happen in a way that Waters kind of can't. So I would probably still favor him personally.
Wes, how about yourself?
I mean, it's definitely interesting because, like Thomas said, Kaminga's not a great shooter, and like kind of in today's game, you want shooters out there as much as possible. And Lindy Waters is kind of like a very good like 3 and D kind of player. Like that's kind of why our depth is so good, is because we have a plethora of 3 and D guys. Like Buddy Hield, he's not a great defender, but like you can kind of consider him a 3 and D when he's like kind of just playing his part. Lindy Waters, 3 and D. Anthony Melton when he's there, 3 and D. Wiggins, 3 and D. So we got like all these 3 and D guys, but I don't know. I think Kaminga, he creates a lot of advantages. He doesn't like always take advantage per se, unfortunately. Like his passing, playmaking is not really where you want it to be, especially in like this Warriors offense where like there's a lot of fast pace. And in that second unit, like kind of what we noticed, like especially last night against the Clippers, is like there wasn't like one of the reasons the Clippers kind of like destroyed us on defense is like it seemed like Steph moving off ball was like all they really had to worry about. Like, and then that's when like Dre passing to him like off ball was like kind of predictable, and like Amir Coffey was getting all these steals. So it's kind of hard to I don't know. I think Kaminga, he introduces a lot of advantages for the Warriors when he has the ball in his hands and he kind of can drive in. It's just about can he kind of like play connected basketball and like give other guys the like opportunities. Like so when he drives in and draws two defenders, is he able to make that pass to the corner to Buddy Hield to Pajemski or whatnot? And that's like where I draw the line. I think Kaminga, he's not great at his passing, but like you just need to give him more time and more reps, and that's the only way it's going to get better. It's not going to get better by him sitting on the bench and kind of like dwelling in his mistakes. You kind of just have to get him out there and like have him mess up enough that he gets better. So, and he's playing with a lot of vets out there, which I like Kyle Anderson, D'Anthony Melton when he was healthy, he ran with the bench units a lot. Pajemski's not a vet, but he's a very smart player, of course. What are the other like bench uh vets? I think. I mean, GB2 is not like that great of a vet, I guess, but like I mean, my main emphasis, I guess, is Kyle Anderson is like that bench vet that can kind of like teach him the
I noticed
ropes
that
of like
all those guys you described pods as smart.
yeah.
What's up with
I said,
that?
of course, he's smart.
What's up? Yeah, you said of course he's smart. What's up with that?
Same with like
half
Pat
half
Stevens
of
off the
Steph,
bench.
half of Steph is really smart.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
Same
Ooh,
with
at
Clay.
one half.
When we lost Clay, we lost half a smart player. So
But Hassan, by the way, to your point, I think if you're thinking about like maybe like this is looking forward a little bit, but if Kaminga really does not improve, and if it's clear that his game is stagnated to the point that he's not going to be able to really flow in that Warriors system, I think the guy you should probably be looking at to replace those minutes is Cal Anderson, if anybody, because he's a lot more similar. Like the athleticism is like 10 versus 1, but in everything else, they are very similar players. They both kind of are best driving to the basket. They both are limited shooters who can maybe knock down a few threes if you absolutely need them to, but you probably don't want them shooting. And they're both really they're both I mean maybe not really good defenders, but they're both above average defenders at the wing who have a little bit of size and length and can be switched on to bigs if you need them to. But the big thing about Kyle Anderson, the thing that makes him such an interesting player is that for somebody with his profile, he's actually a really advanced passer. And so he just naturally fits a lot more easily into the Warriors system in a way that Kuminga doesn't. So during the regular season, like I would just continue to give Kuminga his 20 minutes a game and just hope that he kind of just figures it out on the fly, like Wes said. But maybe in the playoffs, maybe, if Kuminga, or more importantly, if Kuminga starts, kind of being a whiner like he was at some points in 2021, if you remember when he was like complaining about not getting enough playing time, maybe then you just say, all right, look, your time in the Warriors was nice, but we need people who can contribute to winning. I don't know. We'll see. I have
Yeah,
to
I
admit, it's
think
not looking great with him.
yeah, I think I had posed the question, so I'll just kind of give my thoughts behind it. You guys brought up some great points. I think the Kyle Anderson point was a great one, Thomas. But my main logic is this: I think the Warriors we're ninth in the league right now for tempo, for pace. So we're a relatively fast team, and he is doing what we saw with Thompson and Chris Paul last season, where possessions are being hogged, and there isn't a lot of ball movement. There isn't a lot of playmaking going on. And essentially, a possession where Kaminga is trying to score is a possession for Kaminga. That's it. That's about it. If and in this team, in this system we currently have in this 12 man rotation where everyone is eating, I just don't see him fit. And unfortunately, this kind of leads to a bigger question, and maybe we could spend a little bit of time on that, not too much to drag the episode out, but I think we need to trade him. Unfortunately, his value is kind of low right now. He's averaging 14 points, which is the lowest he has averaged uh, since 2022. So last season and this season. So basically less than last season. And I think we need to trade him, but for what? That becomes the issue. This is also jumping a little bit ahead. I wanted to mention another player who's actually struggling quite a bit, Pods. Unfortunately, Pods is in a very rough streak right now. He's currently averaging 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, um, 33% from the field, 29% from three, -6 plus minus over the last. This is for the last 3 games. He is kind of a no, like a zero factor out there. He's not playing well. And it's he did have like a couple of those great highlights, like that are probably the assist of the year this season. The one where he threw it behind his back against the Grizzlies, I would like to say. And
Yeah,
Kuminga
yeah.
got it and he dunked it. Great highlight. And again, it's only like the first 13 games, so we're not like waving the white flag on Pods, but he's going through an immensely rough streak. Now, what does that mean? Couple of good things for the Warriors. We're playing this well with two players, two kind of big players on our team. Big, not like Steph, but big as in like pieces to our team. Pods
Yeah.
and Kaminga kind of struggling. We're still doing really well with them struggling. So what does that mean? When they get good, when they get better, hopefully when they get kind of, I have full faith that Pods will kind of get back into the groove of things, be a positive, productive player like he was last season. But as for Kaminga, I just don't know. And I don't think his value is high enough where we could trade him for a nice piece. Like in the Discord chat, I mentioned Kyle Kuzma because that's what I genuinely think that his value is probably is. I don't think
Dog,
his
if we're trading for
value
Kyle
is a
Kuzma,
Laurie
pinch
Markkinen.
him.
Yeah, I agree. Then rather keep Kaminga. I agree. You guys made some really great points that Kuzma wouldn't really solve the issues that Kaminga is having with us, like hogging possessions, not being great at playmaking. So I just think the biggest step that Kaminga needs to take is he slowly, like, clearly he's kind of working on his three. I mean, his percentages aren't really supporting that. Like this year, he's 32%. Last year, he was 32 as well. So
I mean,
he's
well,
kind
that's
of hovering around the same ballpark. But what he really, really needs to do is learn how to play make. Because many, many, many,
Clearly.
many episodes ago, we talked about how, or I mentioned the point that his game draws parallels to Giannis's game. He's nowhere near the player Giannis is. Nor will he ever be, in my opinion. Um, but his game draws parallels to that. But the issue is that you have to be able to play make then. If you're gravitating, gravitational pull brings two people towards you. That means somebody will be open. You have to do a nice dish. You have to find someone open, and in that way, you're gonna then allow your possessions to be kind of more seamless with how the Warriors are trying to play right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. And the other thing about Kuminga is like we've seen this over and over, but like everybody talks about a player's three, like it's something they can just like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's like it'll just happen, right? Like, okay, you just take 1,000 jumpers, your percentage will go up one. Take another 1,000, your percentage will go up. Like, oh, just like lock yourself in a gym, like whatever, get a shooting coach, figure it out. Like that's not how it works. Like we've seen this over and over and over. Some guys who are mediocre to bad shooters are going to stay mediocre to bad shooters, even if they are supposedly working on it. Like there was a big story last offseason about Walker Kessler on the Jazz. Like he had spent the whole offseason like he was going to get his three right. He was going to become a stretch big. He's continued to shoot like 30%. Everybody was making fun of him, but it's like that's what happens sometimes. Some guys just don't have it, and I don't think Kuminga's ever really going to have that. Maybe like over the course of a 10-year career, he'll be able to slowly get his three up to like a 36%. But he's never going to be a real factor from there, which means he's going to have to make the most out of what he already has, which is his ability to drive and kick. But right now, it's all drive and no kick, and that's it's kind of sad, sad to watch. It's
Yeah,
sad because he has some pretty ugly possessions. When
yeah.
he just like puts his head down and puts his shoulder down and just wildly goes up and gets stripped and like flings his arms up in the air and it's like what are you doing, dog? Like you can't. You're just killing the momentum. So yeah,
I
we'll
Yeah,
feel like
see.
he could, like, one of the parallels, like, it's not like Giannis, I guess, but like Wiggins even though he's not like the same Wiggins he used to be, he still does a pretty good job of like driving in and then getting fouled, which that might just be like a veteran thing. Like Wiggins is a veteran, so he'll get those calls, and Kuminga is not a veteran, so he doesn't get those calls. But that might also be like a technique thing. Like Wiggins knows how to use his body, his athleticism, like turning into defenders, drawing the foul, and then making sure he gets the line at least, or obviously potentially getting the N1. But I feel like on like a broader note with like our bench, Pods and Kaminga are like the stars of our bench, and they like the success and failures of our bench. It goes with like whether or not they are succeeding or having a bad games. Like if Pods is like dribbling up and down the court with confidence, like fast paced, passing it back and forth with like the other guys on the bench, Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, then the bench is just like it's just like a positive on top of our starting lineup already being a pretty solid starting lineup. But when they are not like passing it around, when the ball gets like stagnant, and then it's one of Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, Kaminga, or Pod just trying to create their own shot in ISO or like through pick and roll, that it's kind of just like a desperation pick and roll. There's not really like a play drawn up. Then that's when the bench is kind of just like what is it? What's the term, like draining gasoline, like leaking oil, when you're just like
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
whatever lead the starters did create for you, you're kind of just you're leading it for them, and then like Steph has to come back in or Dre has to come back in and like kind of put out the fire that you started essentially. And I feel like the bench's job should just be to like maintain or improve the lead, of course, but like at least maintain and just like kind of like keep like calm the storm. Like obviously they are young guys, so I do expect the veterans on any bench in the around the league to kind of like maybe give them their best shot and win, but they shouldn't be like demolished. And you should feel good about like, okay, Pods is running the show or Kaminga is running the show. We're gonna be all right for the time being until like Steph or Dre or Wiggins or whoever comes back in and can kind of like taper things, I guess, you know. But right now it kind of just feels like you're waiting for Steph to come back in and like save the day a lot of these games. Even though we're still winning, it's just like you don't feel too comfortable with the bench, unfortunately.
Mhm. Yeah, I think another thing I would like to note is that out of the four, like our young core, like TJD, Moody, Kaminga, Pods, Moody and TJD have gradually like not only have they improved, but they're like consistently doing really so.
Yeah,
Like again, Moody, we no one expected to be like the star player, that number two option that we expected Kaminga to be. But he's doing his thing. He's slowly been averaging more and more points. He was 4, then 4.8, 8.1. This season he's 9.2 on really solid three-point efficiency, 45% versus last year's 36. So he has gradually been improving. TJD, I mean, we've been complimenting him, we've been giving him his flowers. He just works so well in this lineup. So without further ado, let's move on forward to the last game of this three-game uh, segment. Warriors and the Clippers. We played against them last night. Um, I think maybe I'll start with this one first. I think to summarize the game, how I felt it was just sloppy. We had 19 turnovers, 47%, 47.4% from the free throw. That is like, I mean, it's just so bad. We have never been this bad at free throws. This season is a lot worse. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. On the flip side, the Clippers, they went out there. They kind of did what they did what winning teams do. They shot well. They were damn near 50% from the three. Another huge thing, and then I'm gonna open floor. Whoever wants to go can go. Our bench was a lot less productive. We only had 26 points versus our average of 50. So I think these kind of three factors kind of shot ourselves in the foot, or four, I would say. Open floor. Whoever wants to take it, go ahead.
I guess I'll start off first because Tom started out first last time. He's gonna steal that ball like I'm a mere coffee. But yeah, I mean,
Dyson Daniels.
yeah, Dyson Daniels, man, fucking love that guy. He's a guy we should try to pick up actually with a Kuminga trade potentially,
Yeah, good, yeah, good luck.
and Trae Young, throw Trae Young in there as well. No, but I feel like in a lot of the games, it feel like free throw percentage didn't cost us, but like in this game, it definitely did. Like this game, like you said, 47% is like actually berserk. Like that should not like be happening. And it's like super frustrating. Like even though we played like a pretty sloppy game, like you said, like all those like 19 turnovers, Dre basically throwing the ball to Amir Coffey and Terrence Mann and all these guys. They are a really solid team. Like I don't want to like underrate the Clippers just because they don't have Kawhi. They are still like a really legit team. Like they have legit big Zoo, uh, James Harden obviously like still ball handler even in his father time. He's still playing incredible, of course. And they just have like really solid wings. Like Norman Powell is like he's elite at like what he does, like a slasher. He can kind of he's one of those guys like it's very unique. He can just instantly as he catches it, he's already moving towards the basket. So you don't even have time to react. Like a lot of guys will like catch it, pump fake, and then try to drive. He is just like even since like Toronto, he's been able to just like slash instantly to the basket. He's so hard to stop, and his mid range is like impossible to guard. His driving in, he's like a great slasher. So they're just like deep all around, but like obviously the free throws just like totally cost us this game. Like that's just us shooting ourselves in the foot. We should have won this game pretty comfortably had we like shot all right from the free throw line, and then instead it was kind of like a blowout, not a blowout, but like it was kind of a fake comeback anyways. But still, we should have at least been in the game, like felt really in the game, and instead it was kind of like they controlled the tempo the entire game, held us at bay, and like kind of Steph had like his moments here and there, but Steph was kind of contained pretty well by their defenders, unfortunately, and that's their strength. I think they're honestly like one of the best teams in the NBA. I think to guard Steph. Like Boston, I think is up there, but the Clippers just have like such good like
Say that
side. Like
he roasts Boston every time he plays them. On paper, sure, but
he does, yeah.
in real
Well,
life,
they have great
yeah.
guards. Like Drew Holiday, Derek White are like obviously great guards, but like I feel like the best guy to guard a guy like Steph is kind of like an undersized forward, like Terrence Mann, like Amir Coffey, because they're just a little bigger and they can kind of like push Steph around. Whereas like Drew Holiday and Derek White can't really push him around as much, but they can like move around screens pretty well. But yeah, that's my
Yeah,
main
well, I mean,
takeaways.
the big thing with Steph is like you like to really guard Steph, like you really have to guard him off ball. Like on ball, like is one thing. Like sure, maybe you can have like one of those like super like lockdown guys, like a Dyson Daniels or talking about, or like a Wiggins or whatever, who's like a killer, absolute like a menace on ball. But you need somebody who's just willing to like run around for like 48 minutes and just fucking chase him because he's just always moving. I mean, he's just around
Matthew
screens, over
Dellavedova.
screens, under screens, like everybody. Dellavedova is the classic example. He was like doing cross country out there. He was just that was his entire job, just like run, and it works. So I don't know. I think Steph's a really interesting. He's very different from basically anybody else when you're talking about guarding him. Speaking of anybody else, James Harden was fucking torching the Warriors' point of attack defenders. Every single possession, they were just all right. Like I'll swing it around, find James Harden. He just does this thing where he kind of just like stands there for 3 seconds and like does this like he moves the ball like that, a little bit, a couple jab steps, and then just boom, that first step. He literally everybody in the arena knows it's coming. His defender knows it's coming, and then he's just past them, and he has them on their back shoulder. The guy whoever's like the rotation defender has to come over and because it's Harden, he's a fucking machine, and he just immediately every single time, no hesitation, swings it out to the corner, assist, and he had 16 assists. I bet if you added up all the hockey assists he had, which is like when you pass it and then the guy that you pass it to passes it for a bucket, I bet he would probably have 20 or even maybe close to 25. Because basically every possession that the Clippers offense had when he was out there, it was just him beating his guy and then passing out. Like that was all they were doing the whole night, and we couldn't stop it. And then I'm trying to think anything else. Oh yeah, and Zubac was a big Zoo had a. I mean, he's been doing it to everybody, but I mean, he had 17 boards, and there were definitely a couple of sessions where I really thought we were about to get an offensive rebound, and then he just like fucking went up and like snatched it in the middle of like five guys, and you're like, damn, that sucks because we had like five guys around the basket, we couldn't do shit. It was just kind of a tough game to watch. It was kind of sad. I was I really thought that comeback because it felt so real. I know you said it was a fake comeback, but like the momentum, like everything just like it was perfect. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
okay, like so we get into a 3-point game and you're like, man, but they're still probably gonna, it's like they're gonna figure something out. Like Harden's just gonna drive in again, they're gonna kick it out, it's gonna be a dagger three. But then oh my God, all the first time, like in like the whole quarter, we actually make an offensive play, we get the steal, we swing it around, there's like this insane crazy possession, then it all materializes into a wide open three, and he misses it. Like, come on, like that's not how it's supposed. Like in the movie, that shit goes in. Like that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
wasn't supposed to be. That wasn't supposed to be a miss. That was supposed to be a make. So I mean, I know you said like, and you're right. It did end up being a fake comeback, but in the moment, it felt very real. That was kind of that was a
Yeah,
tough game for me. I did not like that one. I really thought that was about to be overtime.
Yeah, it
But
was a tough pill to swallow. Steph, which he's pointing, if you look at the highlights and even live, he was pointing. He meant that ball to be towards Lindy Waters, man. I don't know why. GP2, he made the steal, and if he had hit the three, that would have been like crazy, like steal, and then he hit the three to take us to OT. That would have been nice, but we definitely didn't deserve it. If we're shooting 47% from the
yeah,
free throw,
exactly.
you deserve to freaking lose. So we deserve to lose that. The Clippers. Um, are a really sneaky pick. I realized that game. They are without Kawhi, and they're sneaky. They got depth. Norman Powell. I mean, speaking of number two options, shit, can we trade Kaminga for Norman Powell?
Yeah, dude, we could use Norman Powell, that's for sure.
We should use
All
Norman
star
Powell, dog.
question mark.
Question. I doubt it, to be honest, because the Western
No,
Conference is so stacked. Like even
yeah,
like in the
yeah.
East, like Hero has been hooping, but he's still probably not going to be an All-Star. It's maybe like a real sneaky pick, but it's tough. But anyways. So I think I wanted to say about Harden's 16 assists. How many points without checking, or if you check from beforehand, don't say Thomas or Wes. Do you guys how many points do you think he had?
21,
Wasn't that many.
maybe. I don't know.
Thomas, how many do you
I
think?
bet it was less. I bet it was less. I would bet it was like 15.
He had only 12, which speaks to his
Wow.
absolute, like I was shocked when I was kind of catching up for the pod. I was like, that is impressive. That is genuinely impressive because every possession I was like, oh my God, Harden has the ball. It felt like and it really has to do with just his insane playmaking. And I'm a Harden hater, or I was a Harden hater. Maybe on this new arc, I'm slowly starting to like him. It is not talked enough how in this later part of his career, he became a playmaker. No one talks about that enough. He has become a playmaker. And it is impressive. It's genuinely impressive from someone who was averaging 36 points in his MVP season, I believe, to now taking the step back. Hey, it's all right. I'll score 12 points. I'll dish out 16 assists. For us to get the dub, I'm all right with that. So, low key, I'm starting to like this Clippers team. They're growing on me. I like the depth. I really do actually hope Kawhi Leonard can get back and be healthy and be a positive contributor to this team.
Not
Um,
happening.
not happening for sure.
I mean,
So
why even say that? It's just like that's just cruel.
yeah,
It's I mean it's just a joke at this point. Like
yeah, it really is. So that's why they can't really do anything. They are kind of, dare I say, in a similar position to us, where uh, great depth, deep squad. Um, I would say though for them it's a little bit different. We need a playmaker, kind of in Kaminga. They have that playmaker in Harden, but they don't have like a really solid number one option like we have Steph. So I would say there are similarities between us and the Clippers.
Mhm.
That was a three-game stretch. Any of you boys want to add anything? I believe we're going to be playing against the Atlanta Hawks tomorrow for the NBA Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
Um,
Doesn't it have
I
to be
think
like a
NBA
Western Conference?
yeah, NBA Cup
you're
is
right.
going to be on Friday against the
Friday. You're
Pelicans.
right. Tomorrow we're
The
playing against
hospital
Hawks,
Pelicans.
the
That's a
Hospital
game we need to
Pelicans.
win.
Absolutely. So we're playing at the Hawks next game. Then we're playing against like Thomas said, the Pelicans on Friday, and then the Spurs on Saturday, and then the Nets on Monday. So by the time the next episode comes out, we will have hopefully, I think we'll have played the Hawks, Pelicans, and Spurs, maybe even the Nets. We should be 4-0 in this stretch. We should absolutely be 4-0. Yes, Victor will cause us issues, but again, we're a very strong team. We have overall. After that, we revisit the Thunder. Then our like Thomas said, our really rough stretch starts. We play against the Thunder, the Suns, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies, Timberwolves, the Pacers, the
Timberwolves
Lakers, the
again, which
Clippers.
I don't know what the fuck the scheduling office was doing there.
Yeah,
Three times
yeah.
in 4 games.
So it's gonna be for sure a tough stretch after
It's a
our
test.
next episode. It'll be a test. So we will catch you guys after our next episode. We will hopefully have it out Sunday. So take care, guys, and push.